Hello, everybody. This is the Pastime Paradise podcast with Kahai,
Aldrine,
and Aaron.
We're kind of going out of order today. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but usually one of us starts the podcast, and then it's not like anybody actually hosts or anything, but we kind of have somebody to at least start and end the podcast. I'm going today because we have something special to talk about. We're going to be talking about Aldrine's first comedy show.
So it's a brand new hobby that I got into, like it all started when I didn't have anything to do on a Friday night, honestly. We usually play over at Johnny's Wings and Things on Fridays, and there was this one Friday, there was no gig, so right by our ukulele academy, there was an open mic going on. It was hosted by my friend Vi, and I'm like, hey, let me go check that out before I go home, I guess. I went there, brought my ukulele and fully expecting to play some music, but then Vi and a bunch of other people were doing stand-up, and I was like, man, that sounds pretty fun. So it was finally my turn, and Vi is like, hey, Aldrine, so what, you can play ukulele and sing? I was like, actually, can I try doing some stand-up? Like, that sounds pretty fun. And Vi was kind of like, hey, I didn't know you do stand-up. I'm like, I didn't know either. Let me just try it out. I did some jokes that I talked about that time where like some kids serenaded me in a bathroom, and I just like played it up. I think I told that story before.
Yeah, I mean, for people who haven't heard it, like that sounds kind of.
Okay, I forgot there's like the continuity doesn't extend to this podcast. So
like
and the other,
I guess questionable. So. There, some kids serenading you in a bathroom.
Yeah. Okay. So. I flew back from Korea, and there was like a little league team that was there, and they recognized me. And I don't know, something didn't agree with me in the Korean airline.
But you were at Honolulu airport by this time.
Yeah, I was at Oahu.
Yeah.
And I'd eaten something on Korean Air that didn't really agree with me. And I made a beeline to the bathroom. There, in the bathroom, I was serenaded by like some kids who recognized me as I was like beelining to the bathroom. And they had ukuleles with them, and they started playing, and they started serenading me while I was in the toilet. And I just like kind of like over exaggerated that story with like for comedic effects. But I don't know, it doesn't really need over exaggerating. Basically, the way that I tell it is exactly like how it happened. I just made fart noises. that's what I did. So that my entire comedy act that first night was me making fart noises.
Fart jokes.
Yeah, that people were like, hey, yeah, you're pretty funny, Aldrine. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. I am pretty fun. No. So Vi was like, hey, like I didn't know you did that. Like, and that was pretty good. And she actually put together a comedy show like a while back. I think a couple comedy shows before then. And she's like, you should do it more often. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Like, I've always wanted to do it. I've always been a big fan of comedy. My favorites being Mike Birbiglia and like Mitch Hedberg and the classic like Bill Burr. I've always dreamed of kind of going up. And with the way that my actual career is with ukulele, I get to be on stage and I get to tell jokes. So I figured it was an easy transition from telling jokes on stage as a musician to telling jokes on stage as a comedian. So that's kind of how it started. And then I tried it out, and then Vi came, says she wanted to do a show. Started from like something as small as like, oh, we're just gonna do it at the mall, and we're just gonna do a small show, and we'll raise some funds, and it'll be kind of like a fundraiser show. I'm like, that sounds fun. But then that evolved into like, oh, we're gonna do it at Kauai Beach Resort, to like this nice hotel who just renovated their ballroom. And then it went to like, okay, we're gonna charge people like $40 a ticket to get in there. Like more and more pressure. I'm like, yo, this is like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like that time that you heard me was like my first time, like my actual first time, like telling jokes on stage in front of people that aren't my family or my cats, So I was like super nervous just her talking about it. And then she added like, oh, and then Bulaia is going to be the headliner. And Bulaia is like this Hawaii comedy legend. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't know if I can do this, But she's like, nah, it's gonna be fun. So I said it was my dream to do it. So I'm like, I'm gonna put all my effort into getting this done right, because I want to do it right. If it's the only time that I get to do this, I want to be able to do it right. So became an obsession, really. Yeah. I think we talked about that, yeah? Like obsessions becoming hobbies and stuff. So it just became an obsession of trying to be funny on stage.
I think you told us though that like she asked you, at first it was like, oh yeah, low pressure, like don't worry, it's at the mall.
Yeah.
And even you're kind of like, oh, but if it's at the mall, like how are we gonna tell like these jokes, right? Like there's gonna be kids walking around.
Yeah. The way that she pitched it is like, okay, it's gonna be at the mall. And I'm just kind of like, oh, like how are we gonna do that? Because you just said that we can swear and it'll be fine, And she's like, no, well, we'll try to make it a night show. There's not a lot of kids going out at night. and we'll try to make it like kind of roped off in center stage. It's like, I don't know if you can do that, you know? And then it evolved into it being like in the Jasmine Ballroom over at Kauai Beach Resort. And as I saw the poster, it's like $40 a ticket, and then it's friggin' like $75 for like a VIP table. I was like, God damn. In my actual profession, people aren't paying that much money. And that's something I'm like really good at, you know? And this is something that I'm gonna be doing like professionally for the first time. And I'm like, maybe it's like the Asian in me, because I am like an Asian from Asia, and it's just a shame. I'm like, I don't want people to pay $40. You know?
I wouldn't pay to see me.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know about this. It's Asian, but it's also kind of selfish, because it's like, no one's paying that to see you. They're paying that to see Bula Ia. But it, you know, I'm just like worried about my thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, they're paying $40 to see Bula Ia.
Yeah.
They're also paying $40 to watch a 15-minute awkward segment with me. You know?
I should probably not suck.
Yeah, you should maybe lower the prices, because that like takes off some of that money.
Yeah, I was thinking,
it offsets, you know?
I was thinking it's like, it's $40 for Bula Ia, but then is there like a $15-$20 discount because I'm on the
Yeah.
That's just how I would feel. But yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, that's basically how it started, and I just kind of like been practicing, and then
From there, it was kind of like you're starting to freak out about like the pressure.
Yeah.
So what did you do to like kind of calm your nerves or like preempt some of that?
You know, I went to the woodshed basically. Like that's what I do when I'm worried about like something with ukulele. You know, like every time there's like a big task like in front of me. Like for example, you know, like I don't mean to bring this up for the billionth time, but like when I was asked to do like the Simpsons track, I just said yes, because I'm like, I'm not gonna say yes, because it's like a dream come true to like do the opening couch gag for the Simpsons. But then I listened to the song, I'm like, what the hell did I sign up for? I'm like, this song is hard, man. How the hell am I going to do this? But I'm like, okay, well, there's a challenge. So I gathered up as much resources as I could. I brought up the music, putting together like my arrangement skills, and I asked Mike Odo. We talked about him a lot on the podcast. Like, hey, can you help me arrange this? Because this is kind of like a big undertaking. I also asked for help from my mother-in-law, because like she does piano music, and I just wanted kind of like a second opinion on a lot of stuff. So, you know, I asked her about like cluster chords, and asked Mike about cluster chords, because it's a very tough like arrangement. Who's that guy from
Danny Elfman?
Danny Elfman. Yeah. Danny Elfman's arranged it. I was like, this is kind of scary. So same exact thing where like I'm faced with this challenge, and I'm kind of like, all right, so, you know, like here it is. Like we said we'd do it, so let's go and do it. Things that I did to kind of prepare was I need to listen again to the comedians that I love, and I need to like kind of define what comedy is to me, and that took a while. It wasn't until I was talking with Aaron, and I'm like, I'm pretty nervous about this. I'm thinking about making this joke and this joke and this joke, and Aaron's like, maybe don't do those. You know, what did you say? I forgot.
You were mentioning like, oh, I'm just gonna do like Filipino jokes, I guess, because you know that's like what Hawaii comedy is kind of like, or like that's what appeals to like Hawaii like listeners. We're used to comedians talk about ethnic stuff, so I'll just do that, you know. And I was like, that doesn't sound like you at all.
Usually it's comedians kind of like doing their ethnicity, right? And explaining like the quirks or things that people would relate to, with knowing it's like, oh yeah, I have the same ethnic background, or being in Hawaii is just like, oh yeah, I know people like that. That's kind of the easy, or not easy necessarily easy, but that is like very common in Hawaii.
Yeah, so I was kind of like thinking about what the crowd was, because I guess like a big part of it really is the crowd, like how they're gonna respond. And honestly, like had I gone that route, I think it would have been more funny, but I don't think it would have been me. Like the biggest takeaway or the biggest advice that everyone seemed to be giving me, like that I talked to, was to be myself. And although like the show would have been fine, I think people would have laughed at it, but then it wasn't true. And again, like I had to go back to like, if this is the only time that I get to do this, is that something that I'm going to be proud of? You know, like I really need to put myself out there. So talking with Aaron, you know, he's like, just take stuff from the podcast like that you talked about, and like and talk about that, because those are your stories, you know, and just like exaggerate it to comedic effect. And that's basically what landed me the gig in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was selling Filipino jokes at that open mic with Vi, right? Like I was talking about the bathroom serenade, and that's kind of what won them over to kind of hire me for this. So I thought about it. But let's do it like in a podcast way. Top 3 things.
Yeah. Well, top 3 things that you did to prepare.
Yeah. What top 3 things that I did to prepare?
I also wanted to mention when you talked to Aaron and you're saying like, oh, I'm gonna do Filipino jokes.
Yeah.
Like, what is the time frame for that? How much time do you have to prepare from there to the actual doing the stand-up?
I think I had like 2 or 3 months. It was a long time. At least 2 months.
Yeah.
It was at least 2 months.
That sounds like a long time, but people who do stand up professionally, they can do it for years before they feel like they're really ready, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, so you're kind of diving into it, you know?
So the top 3 things the top 1 was consult someone that knows me the best. And I believe that was Aaron. Like I have spent every waking hour with Aaron Nakamura for the past, like, God knows how many years, you know? Like we've been working together. We've been good friends for like the longest time. And I'm kind of like that person who overshares anyway, you know? With Aaron, he knows everything like about me. So when I consulted with Aaron, like this is what I'm gonna do. And because Aaron like knows me better than I know me sometimes, he gave me that really good advice of like, just be yourself, just tell that. And then I think that night he like made me a outline and examples of which stories from the podcast that I should tell.
No, well, I mean, a lot of those weren't even from the podcast. They were just like stories that you've told me just like in the parking lot while we're, after a gig or something, because it's probably not shareable on the podcast. So
that's true, yeah. So yeah, he kind of gave me an outline of like what to work with, and he actually came up with the biggest part of my show, because the whole show is based on like one question of like, am I the asshole? The entire show is based on that fact. And then I had to kind of just define like what my comedy was, and I think in the months leading up to it, like try to like joke on stage and try to figure that out. And I think within the recent years, I got pretty good at like crowd interaction and just messing with my crowd as far as like music goes. I really like awkward kind of, comedy, or making like the audience like feel awkward, because when we were doing the other podcasts, that's basically what I was doing with Kahai. Like, that's what makes me laugh. Like, I like that. And it's weird because it doesn't even matter if anybody's laughing. Like, as long as it's funny to me, like, it's funny. And that's it. Nobody could be laughing. But, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But as long as I made somebody or the audience feel like, oh, I don't know if we should be talking about that. It's hard to explain, but like in a comedy way, that's my brand of comedy. So the first thing, definitely number 1, is consulting Aaron and figuring out what my brand of comedy was. And I think awkward, almost self-deprecating, like kind of comedy, and mixed in with a little bit of like inside jokes that the audience is not a part of, but like it really just exists in my mind. But if you listen carefully and break it down, like it'll make sense. So it's not by any means like smart comedy. Is just one of those like storytelling that if you paid attention, then you'll be rewarded, at the end. That kind of comedy. I've always liked that, because guys like Birbiglia is like that. He'll like put little things in there. He'll call back to it, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah. I think one time Aaron was telling me too that your goal with like doing audience banter and talking to the audience and stuff is like finding somebody who doesn't know who you are, doesn't know you're telling jokes, getting them to get in on the jokes by the end of the night, that they're like laughing with you.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that it's like people are gonna be like, yo, everybody will think this is funny. This applies to everybody. It's like, no, this is very specific to something. But if by the end of my show you can laugh along with me, like that's good enough, right? Like that. That is kind of the goal of it.
Yeah, I just want the audience to be like part of it. I am doing a show for them after all. But then therein lies kind of the difficulty in comedy with music. People aren't expecting for me to mess with them or to whatever, or like for me to tell jokes.
Yeah.
So it creates that awkward, like, is he joking? Like, I don't know if he's joking. But me coming on stage as a comedian, like they're expecting me to joke around.
Yeah.
To bring that premise was like very, very, very difficult, because with my show it's a lot easier to mess with somebody who like doesn't know that I'm messing with them. That was the hard part of the puzzle that I had to figure out. Now, the second thing that I did to prepare for the performance was to practice. And by practice, the first time I did it, I went to an open mic and participated and just did it, right? I would look for open mics around the island to just do bits and pieces of my set, because I didn't want to do like an entire 15-20 minute set for an open mic. Usually people get like 2 or 3 songs, you know? So I'll just do one part of the set, and then the next week I'll do another part of the set, the next week I'll do another part of the set, and just kind of like look back and take notes and see what I can take out or what I can put in and stuff. I was just basically workshopping it at a bunch of open mics. The one that I attended to was the one over at Halilihue in Lihue. On Fridays, they would have an open mic, and there was a bunch of musicians there and stuff that were doing music and whatever. I'd bring my ukulele just in case. Like, I backed out those first couple weeks. I'm like, I don't know, I have my ukulele. I'm like, if it doesn't seem like the vibe, because, you know, I also wanted to kind of feel it out too. I'm not just gonna go on stage and I'm like, and then these kids fucking followed me to the bathroom and I shit myself, you know, like I just shit in that toilet and they heard it and they were singing to me, haha, you know, if it'll kill the vibe. And then I at least have my ukulele. But luckily, shout out to Haley. So Haley Jones is from the mainland. Her dad owns like a comedy club, so she grew up in a comedy club, so she was also doing stand-up. So the crowd was already used to doing stand-up comedy. It was kind of an amazing miracle that I found the one open mic on Kauai that had an actual comedian in there doing comedy, and I found the one open mic on Kauai that was cool with doing stand-up comedy in general. So it was pretty lucky, and it came at like the perfect time, because I think Haley like is relatively new to Kauai. It's not like she's been living here for like many years or anything like that. I don't know, for some reason, whenever I put that kind of energy out there, the world somehow like rewards me for putting that kind of energy, you know? I want to go off topic just a little bit. I'm gonna compare it to this. I have this thing when I need to find parking space, I will pray to the parking god Walter. Like, it sounds ridiculous, and I'm not like when you have like many gods. Yeah, I'm not polytheist. Yeah. Anyway, yes, yeah. So that's such a hard word to say. I don't believe in it, but you know, like if I put that energy out in the world, I'm like, all right, so I'll be like looking for parking. It'll be like a really crowded mall or whatever, or arena, and like, Walter, please do your job. You know, I need a parking space right now. Please, can I have some parking space? And then when I brought it with me on tour, like me, Aaron, and Ryan at the time, and then Kahai too, you know, eventually, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm praying to the parking god for some parking. And then they're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then all of a sudden, there is a parking spot that opens up. They're like, what the fuck?
This is very true to your comedy too, because it's not like you explain to us that it's like, oh, I pray to a parking god. It's like we just hear you saying, oh, thank you, Walter. And it's like, who the fuck is Walter?
Yeah, so it's like, Walter, please, I know I haven't asked in a long time. I don't necessarily ask on Kauai, you know, I don't really need it. But you know I wouldn't ask you if I didn't need it, okay? So Walter, please, could I have some parking? You know, it's been a long tour. Like, I talk to him like it's a person, you know? Like, it's been a long tour. I kind of don't feel like walking too far, and we have stuff in the car, you know, like that we gotta bring out. It would be great if we got like something a little bit closer to the place. And then boom, like it's almost like immediately, right? Like, I mean, Aaron, I need an outside person to explain this, because I sound crazy explaining it. Listening to myself explain it, it sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's like we've also had other people ride in the car with us, or you know, just been with us, and man, when you're around you just like pick up on that energy, and it's just like you just go with it, because I don't think any of us have ever explained it to anybody else who rides in the car with us. And it's just like, you either get it or you don't. You just gotta go with it, man.
So yeah, going back into it now, like, so that was a nice little side trip. So going back to it, yeah, I put that energy out there, and the world gave me Haley Jones. And Haley was so nice. I told her, I was like, hey, this is kind of my first time like doing stand-up. I've done it kind of before, but that was an improv. This one I wrote some jokes. Could you like give me some feedback? She's like, oh my god, sure, like I love it. And we talked like pretty much the entire time while we were like watching other people. In between each performer, you know, we would kind of be talking comedy. She's like, who are your favorite comics and stuff, and blah 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 blah. And every time I went, I would see her, and she'd give me like feedback on some of the changes that I made, and it was amazing. Like, to have a seasoned kind of mentor, you know, like it was the perfect thing that I could have asked for. Of course, also like I would try to practice. I'd practice at home. I put on good old Pro Tools, and for those of you folks who don't know, it's like a audio recording program program or a digital workstation.
Digital audio workstation.
Yeah, a digital audio where there's a DA, it's a DAW basically. So I just wanted to know like how long like the set is, and then I cut some stuff and I put in like stuff that I think is funnier or whatever. I just do edits that way. So that's the second thing that I did to prepare for the performance. The last thing that I did to prepare for the for the performance is definitely just try to perform it as much as possible, like in between commutes, because it's just a 15-minute set. Every time I drive from my house over to work or to wherever I gotta go, like if I'm just gonna go to Costco or whatever, it's usually like a 10-minute drive from my house, and the entire time I'm just saying the same lines over and over and over until I just got sick of my own voice, you know, like in the car. But it helps out a lot because I can kind of hear the delivery, and, you know, based on like Haley's advice, based on a bunch of other people's advice that I got. It's an art. Comedy and stand-up comedy is an art that people do, and I have tons of respect for the people who do it, because it's not just going up on stage and telling a few jokes, you know, like it is, but there is timing. There is beats that you gotta hit, there's callbacks, there's like a flow to the story, there's like an audience interaction, and you kind of have to gauge like if the audience even care or not. And if you believe in it, then like, you know what, if I believe that they don't care about this right now, but I'm gonna take them on a journey, and they will. That was my approach to it, where like these people are probably here to hear like Filipino jokes, what I thought they wanted to, and they definitely did. Again, I reiterate, if I had gone that route, I would have just got the yucks, but it would have felt kind of shallow, you know? But at least this way, I got to tell like my jokes, my stories, and people in the beginning, they were like, I don't know if I should be laughing at this. Like, it feels kind of like awkward that you're telling us like how much of an asshole you are, basically, you know? The entire thing was like, am I the asshole? It's like, yes, dude, you're the asshole. Like, you're a huge asshole. And then at the end, they're like, okay, I get it. And they started kind of laughing. And I thought, again, if it was my first and last performance, I wanted to do it right. So I ended with the first joke that I ever told, which is the bathroom serenade. So that's how I ended it. People loved it. You know, like I was miming, like, you know, sitting on the toilet. I did this miming of like being a sumo wrestler, like just full on like wide squatting. So it was cool. It turned out pretty good. I think I did take them on a journey, and even if at first they weren't with me, I think at the end people are like, okay, I get it now. You know, because it was new to local comedy, my brand of comedy, and I really wanted to put myself out there rather than, you know, I think I made the right decision.
I think you said that at the end of the show, or after you did your set, you heard people doing callbacks to your set. And you were like, yes. And I think if you did like Filipino jokes, that would have been the thing, is like, it would have been funny, but I don't think it would have been memorable, right? Like it wouldn't, people would be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, that's what we expect, but like, I don't know if they would be like calling back, or they would say like, oh yeah, Aldrine did this joke, you know?
So I don't know, but with that night, like the whole like, am I the asshole callback, like people were definitely doing that. You're like, dude, you're an asshole. I'm like, hey, that's the only time I'll let you say that, okay? Like, tonight's the only time I will know what you're talking about when you say that. And then like I got like comments on like, I made a huge Instagram post. If you guys are interested, check out my Instagram post. I kind of get into it a little bit more there. In the comments, they're like, you're an asshole. I'm like, hey, kind of. You know? But like, I don't know, like, because I think if I did do the other brand of comedy, like, I think people would have still like, hey, you know, whatever, like Filipino joke. Is there a Filipino joke here that, you know? But on that note of like being true to myself, I'm actually... Okay, here, can I do a controversial take, Kahai? And I think people are going to be like, oh my God, I don't like Aldrine now. Okay. Being a Filipino from the Philippines, all right, I don't find that many Filipino comics that funny. But I wanted to go that route because other people find it funny. But I don't find it that funny. There is like a Filipino comic that is very popular. I don't want to say which one, but I think everyone would know which one I'm talking about. I just don't find them that funny. And the thing is, all my friends are like, oh my God, you're going to go to that show, right? He's coming to Hawaii or whatever. And it's like, no. And they're like, what? Why? I'm like, you don't want to know, because I don't find that person that funny, you know? I think Filipino jokes, much like Big Bang Theory. At first, I was watching it, yeah, and I was laughing because it's like, oh, it's the first time like that nerd culture gets to kind of be on TV, right? So at first, I was like, oh yeah, this person is funny or whatever. But eventually, like with Big Bang Theory, there was like no joke. It was just like the nerd culture itself that people were kind of like laughing at, and this kind of became the deal where like at first I was laughing like with this person, then it was almost like I was laughing at like being Filipino, you know, like,
yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't know if I dig that.
Yeah.
And like the heavier this person leaned into that, the more I kind of grew out of it. So I mean, it's, you know, for some people it's funny, but that's just my, you know, that's just my take. I'm not a hater. I don't hate this person, but it's just like, hey, I grew out of it. And it definitely has like some great jokes and stuff. I guess as a whole and as a Filipino, I'm just like, okay, well, that's, you know, we can do better than that, right? You know?
Yeah, I think that's a common trope for a lot of Asian comedians.
Right.
Where at a point, it's like, where are you telling the joke about your experience of being an Asian, you know, Asian American or Asian? And then where does the line end of you're saying Asian American experience and people are like laughing at it?
Yeah.
I think it's a fine line. And sometimes there's comedians who they kind of like, oh, isn't it funny that I'm Asian? And it's like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Like on that, so I did my top 3 things. Let's do another top 3. So top 3 lessons and takeaways from the show. Because I know what my number 1 is. My number 1 lesson, and I learned this even before the show, and I made this a rule that if I'm gonna do comedy, if I'm gonna go on stage and tell jokes, before I say it, a lot of people, whenever I'd ask them for advice, they're like, bring your ukulele up with you and sing and tell jokes and stuff, you know, with your ukulele so that you feel comfortable on stage. I'm like, I don't think you guys understand. It's not the stage that makes me feel uncomfortable. It's not being funny. It's making me feel uncomfortable. I don't care about being on stage. Like, I've been on stage a billion times. That's not it, you know? Like, I don't need a security blanket on stage. Yeah, like everyone that I talked to, there was like not one person, including Haley Jones, like, oh, just bring your ukulele, you'll feel comfortable. I'm like, no, I don't want to rely on that, you know? Like, even though I was like asking for advice, it's not like I took every single advice. I took advice that, you know, that pertained and was good, right? That one I didn't agree with. So same thing, much like the Filipino being the butt end of the joke, I made a promise to myself that if I'm gonna do comedy, I will never, ever make ukulele the butt of the joke. One, it's like such an easy, you know, thing for me to go to make fun of, because the entire set, and even my ukulele students who were like interested in going to the show, they're like, are you gonna I'm like, I'm not doing ukulele jokes.
Yeah.
Because I would never ever make fun of or poke fun of the thing that has put a roof over my head and the thing that I claim to love so much. I would never ever do that to my best friend, the ukulele, you know? So made a promise that there will never be an ukulele joke like that of poking fun of the ukulele in my stand-up ever.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, like that's my number 1 rule. So my lesson that I learned from it, and because I learned it while coming up with the show, while like coming up with material to say on the show, I will never ever make the ukulele a joke.
Yeah.
Okay, even though it's, you know, it's stand up, it's supposed to be jokes, haha and whatever, the ukulele deserves more than that. I feel like the ukulele has been taking jabs for for decades, you know? Yeah, like right, since its conception. So I won't add to that. So just much like Big Bang Theory and stuff, I was watching an episode. It's like they were like dressed up about to go to Comic-Con, and then there was like a laugh track, and I'm like, wait, what's the what was funny? Like that's what people do. You know, they dress up to go to Comic-Con, and it's just like, what is the comedic effect? I don't understand. Like that's not funny. As a nerd, that's not that funny. Maybe to other people, but it's funny because you're poking fun at the nerds.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like,
but that's like an actual thing.
Yeah, it's normies being like, oh, isn't it funny? Look at them. They're so nerdy.
Look,
they're so weird and quirky.
He's dressed as like freaking Superman or whatever, or Flash. It's like tons of people do that, you know? Like don't make fun of them. So that's my number 1 thing that I learned, that I'm going to make a rule.
Yeah.
You know, like the ukulele is not going to be like the butt of the joke. The second lesson that I learned is that everyone that I went to for advice, they're absolutely right, which is to just be yourself. That was one of the constant advice that I got from everybody, and I knew it was good advice, but I didn't realize how good until after the performance, because I stuck true to myself, my own brand of comedy, I felt really good about it. And again, like I said, even if that's gonna be my last time, I'm proud of what I put out there. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even like great by any like stretch, because I'm a beginner. I'm not claiming to be like this amazing comic or whatever like that my first time was excellent, whatever. I definitely some people would say I bombed, but that was also part of the plan. Like I planned to bomb in the beginning so that people kind of understand towards the middle and the end what I was going for. Like doing the show, because I stuck true to what I believed in, I think people laughed with me rather than at me. I think at first they were laughing at me because, I was doing a pantomime of pooping. And I was definitely making lots of fart noises, But like at the end, they were laughing with me and not at me, which is good. And I think people understood. And I'm glad I stuck to my guns and went out there as myself. The last thing that I learned is that going up first is not the position that I thought it was going to be. The position that I thought were going up first and okay, there's no expectations and stuff because I'm the first timer there or whatever. And it's going to be the easy spot, I guess, in the card. But no, dude, going up first. People have been waiting, and leading up to that has been weeks of man, it's gonna be this big Bula Ia show and people bought tickets and stuff. So these people are pumped up and hyped to see comedy, and then the first comedian that they see and they're like, oh, okay, that was fine. So it's nerve-wracking. People were prepared to laugh their asses off, but then for me, because I stuck to my comedy, the first parts were super awkward, and people were like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. I thought we're gonna get some local comedy. So people kind of seemed disappointed at first, until I took them for the ride. They're like, okay, that guy was pretty good, I guess.
Entertaining.
Yeah, he was entertaining, But it's not the position that I thought it was. But could you have put me anywhere else? So the lineup was me, then it was Kumutuna, who is a TikTok personality, but also a seasoned stand-up comedian. He said that was his 6th, 7th time doing that particular show. And then there was Maki, who's one of the forefathers of that show, And then there's Bula Ia. So there's no other place you could have put me, but I did ask to go first, because I thought that was going to be the easiest spot, but none of the spots is easy. So that's the last lesson where being first is not going to make it easier. Stand-up is not easy. It is an art, and I respect it way more now because I respected it before. Now I was oh yeah, you can do that. I can do that. I tell jokes all the time. I'm on stage, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I didn't realize how much hard work it was, even to just put together a simple show, right, or a simple set. I could just imagine guys that do it at such a high level, how difficult that is to come up with a story that's perfect and that will land and connect with everybody, because that's you being naked out there. Comedians are talking about not just their experiences and their feelings and stuff, but that is their purest, most unfiltered thoughts on stage, because that's what it's supposed to be, right? And that's here's my take on the world. Whenever they go on stage, it's very difficult for people to care about your take, because as humans we care about what we care about. Why would we empathize with somebody on stage that we don't know?
I was talking to Aaron about it. We were talking just about comedy and stuff, and I said it's it's super hard because you're going up there and you have to introduce yourself to people who probably don't know you, get them on your side, and then get them laughing with you within your time limit, right? And for comedians who are well known, I think people just go to their show and it's oh, I know who they are already. I'm already on their side and stuff. But if you're not known as a comedian, how do you get the audience to join in with you as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah.
Because telling jokes with your friends, it's they're already on your side too. They know you. They probably know your backstory. They know the jokes that you would tell. So when you tell a joke and it cracks your friends up, it's way different than doing it in front of just an audience that doesn't know you, right? You can think you're funny and then think oh, I can do stand up easily,
right?
And it's no, it's way harder than that.
Yeah. So I think my first move to to consult Aaron and to consult people that know me was the best thing that I could have done, because it was almost asking Aaron, what makes me funny? Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Why am I funny? It's that.
Yeah, most people don't have that awareness about themselves too, so
I guess so. And yeah, I was glad that I did that, and I'm glad that I put myself out there, and I'm stoked because I get to experience what it's like to be a beginner again. you know, like to start all the way from the beginning and like not have anybody know like who you are or what you're about to say, and really experience that like that beginner mentality. So it was a blessing in disguise because I got to work hard from the beginning again. You know, I mean, I know some comics are like, what do you mean work hard? You were handed like this show or whatever, you know, like from your friends. But it didn't mean that I didn't take it as seriously as I did. Like I spent basically every day reciting back and forth every single joke that I told that night. And even then, because I was nervous, I was like pacing in the back for like an hour, and everyone was like trying to calm me down. You know, Mackie gave me a big hug right before like I went up. He's like, dude, you're gonna kill it, don't worry about it, you know. And there was a moment where like we're all up on stage and everyone's kind of like riffing off of each other. It's kind of this finale thing. Kumutuna's making fun of the audience while making fun of Mackie, while making fun of Bulaia, and then Mackie chimes in, makes fun of Kumutuna, and then Bulaia makes fun of both of them, and I'm just on the side like just cracking up. And then Vi turns to me and like, oh, what do you think, Aldrine? I'm like, I had nothing, because at that moment I became like an audience member, just enjoying like being better than front row, you know, like I'm on stage with these funny people being funny. It was such an amazing experience that like I felt nervous, and I did have a brief moment that I didn't feel like I belonged up there. I didn't think that I was worthy to be on that stage with those guys, because they were cracking jokes and everybody was laughing and whatever, and I had nothing to contribute. But Bulaia like put his hand over my shoulder and squeezed and kind of gave me that look like, don't worry, man, it's comedy, it's just funny, don't think too hard on it, you did fine, that kind of thing. And like I couldn't have appreciated any more, because coming from a legend, you know, and one that like I listened to as a kid, like that meant so much to me, and huge respect to the guy who's been doing it for decades now. And yeah, it was a huge moment. And I learned a lot that like, yeah, it's just supposed to be fun. So everything that I do from now on is I'm gonna try to do it with that much gusto, because I talked about this with you guys before. I don't know if I said on the podcast, but like recently there was like a thing with the fighting game community of like Daigo Umehara, and he's like an older Street Fighter player who went up against the new best Street Fighter player in the world, won like multiple world championships, so on and so forth, and like and challenge like this old guard, you know. And people were kind of like, oh man, that's not fair, you know, the old guards, of course he's gonna lose and whatever, like he doesn't have the same kind of reaction times as he did before. But Daigo was kind of like, no, I want to win, I want to do this, because like he's challenging me at my favorite thing, and I want to do everything that I can. I want to do my best at this thing that I love, because if I don't give it my all on something that I love, then I don't give my all to anything. Because if you don't give it to that, so something that you say you claim you enjoy, then do you give your all to anything? So like that really rang in my brain for a long time this past couple months, that like I claim to love comedy, and I grew up listening to these people and watching these specials and stuff and copying their jokes and whatnot. So I love it. I wanted to like give it with as much respect and give it my all as much as possible to show the respect and to show that I love it. Same thing with ukulele. I'm gonna go to it, I'm always gonna give like 1,000,000%, because I love it.
Yeah. I think it's harder to do that, but like if you can, it's more rewarding. But then I think a lot of people might not do that. Like they might be like, whatever, I didn't really try that hard anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they have that excuse at the end.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, I think like you said, the reason why you can be proud is because like you did your best, right?
Yeah.
Like you tried your best and you tried to do like a good show. So
yeah, and I tried to stick true to me. And it wasn't just like I just dialed it in and just did the safe jokes because I know what'll make people laugh or whatever, or like at least the local audience, you know. And just got like the cheap laughs and stuff. Like no, I went with my own brand, and it was better than I could have asked for. Like I said, because I was so nervous, a lot of the jokes, like even though I practiced them 1,000,000 times in the car or like through my recording program, I was rushing everything because I'm just naturally an anxious person, you know. So I rushed some of the jokes, I forgot some of the punchline for some of them, which I was disappointed by because I worked super hard. And so to miss a beat, it was kind of like, oh man, you know, like I was thinking that like I worked hard on that, and the audience didn't even get to hear what I worked hard on. But I didn't let it get to me, and I just kept going, you know. It's very difficult, man. But towards the end I felt more comfortable, and it finished off strong. So like I said, by any means it wasn't like an amazing show that I did, but I thought it was appropriate for someone of my level.
I think I saw John Mayer has a podcast.
Yeah.
And he was talking to somebody, another performer, and he said that he just realized recently there's a difference between putting on a good show and having a good show. And for him, his goal is to do both, right? To put on a good show and have a good show.
Yeah.
But he said that doesn't always align. And sometimes you can put on a good show and then you come off stage and you're like, oh, I didn't have a good show.
Yeah.
Or he said even his bandmates, he'll come off of the stage and be like, oh man, guys, tonight the show was kind of rough. And his bandmates are like, what are you talking about? That was like the best show we ever did. And he's like, oh man, I didn't get that impression at all, right?
Yeah.
So it's that feeling of like, I accomplished what I wanted and I'm happy with what I did. And it doesn't always align, but it sounds like with this, you were proud of going out there and actually doing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, experience and all that stuff, like it all lines up. But with that, like Aaron and I have that same thing after every show. It's like, yeah, that show was pretty good, like, or I think we played well, but like the show wasn't that good, like it's that, like, or sometimes like we didn't play that well, but the show was good.
The audience reacted totally differently than what we were feeling on stage.
Yeah.
You can't like let on that we were feeling like we were sucking really bad.
Yeah. But whenever those two things align, that's like the best shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think both of those like align. So even though like I wasn't having the best show on stage in the beginning, it came out pretty good. Like towards the end, like I found my footing and I found my groove and I finished strong. Same thing the audience, they like they weren't with me in the beginning. It was crickets like in the beginning, and it was kind of awkward. But that's kind of my brand of comedy.
That's what you were going for.
That's kind of what I was going for, like, because at first the whole like premise to Am I the Asshole, the audience don't know that like the whole thing is, yes, I'm the asshole, you can make fun of me, like that's kind of how like this thing works. Like I'm gonna tell you a story and you're like, wait, you kind of were the asshole in that story.
Do you have to ask?
Yeah, kind of. And then when the audience is like, he's the asshole, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So kind of like the journey that I wanted to take them on. But I did have some jokes that were like, it wasn't making fun of me, it was making fun of something else that I wanted them to laugh at, and they didn't do that either. So it's kind of a reverse Uno.
Yeah.
We're not gonna laugh at the thing you want us to laugh at. I'm like, oh well, how about this then? It became this cool like back and forth towards me and the audience, and in the end we all laughed together and it was a great time.
Yeah. My cousin saw online the flyer for the show.
Yeah.
And we were talking and she's like, wait, is he doing a comedy show? And even my mom, I think she like looked at my cousin and she's like, no, he's not a comedian, what are you talking about? He's a ukulele player.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah. And she's like, can he do comedy? And I was like, I don't know, but we talked for an hour on our podcast, like we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, us talking on the podcast or even when you do banter during live shows, it is pretty good that you have those experiences because, instead of like taking it as like the audience didn't laugh, oh, I'm just going to stop now or I'm just going to give up. I know there's times where when we used to do our old podcast and it would be live.
Yeah.
And somebody would say that, like somebody would say something, I don't know, negative or something.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just be like, oh, okay, then we'll stop now. It's like, it just eggs you on further, right? Where it's like, okay, if you say that, then I'm gonna say something else.
I'm gonna double down.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna double down. If someone's like, you're not talking about ukuleles at all, I'm like, watch me not talk about ukuleles for 30 more minutes.
Yeah. Get back to the ukuleles.
Yeah, that's my brand of comedy. They're like, what is this? They're like not talking about ukes at all. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, One Piece.
Yeah. It is exactly like the Walter thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like other people in the car are like, wait, what's going on? What's happening? What's happening? And it's just like, man, you get on or you get out of the car. There's two options. That's it, pretty much.
You either just accept that that's what's happening to you.
Yeah.
You're like, who's he talking to?
Yeah.
He seems to be talking to somebody.
It's like, yeah, we just go with it, that's it.
Then eventually you're like, well, fuck me, that we found good parking, what the hell? Yeah. Almost every time too. Like, and everyone that has experienced it, I made into a believer because like my wife is a believer now.
Yeah.
Actually, shout out to Jen Sterlacci because she's the one who introduced me to Walter, but she didn't take it to the level where I took it.
Yeah.
Because I became such a believer and such a devout follower of Walter.
Yeah.
that it like, it's almost like I actually do believe it. And the thing is,
we need to make like votive candles. That's gonna be an.
But no one knows what Walter looks like.
Yeah.
Or
That's what makes him a true god.
is it just a candle with like an empty parking space? So it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like two lines or something, right? Like it's like, oh my gosh.
So for those people who are like, I don't get it. Imagine the Walter card is the same thing as having like that handicap card. You'll always find parking if you have the Walter card.
Yeah.
And I shit you not, it works every time. There's not been one time that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like if you're patient enough, you put that energy out there in the world, and it works every time,
It
most
works
of the
every
time.
Even if we had to wait for 30 minutes circling around the parking lot.
It'll work. It'll work every time sometimes.
Yeah. But when we're in the car and it happens, or it's like, we're on a trip, like a long trip, and we have to look for parking so often.
Yeah.
After a while, it's like he can't keep getting away with it. It can't keep happening.
Yeah.
Come on. There has to be a time where it runs out. And so even though it's like you get parking that's better than if you didn't pray to Walter, sometimes it's like, God, I just hope it doesn't work,
Dude, it worked this past weekend actually. So we went to the farmer's market this weekend, and farmer's market starts at 9. We got there at like 9. Like it's pretty early. It just started, and there's no parking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? Watch this. So I asked for Walter, and then my mom and Heather was like, dude, they just started the thing. No one's gonna leave because like they just started the farmer's market. Who's gonna open up a parking spot for you? And I'm like, you guys are non-believers. Let me tell you. Like, if you, so.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Oh, ye of little
Yeah.
faith. And then boom, wouldn't you fucking know it? There was a freaking a parking spot that opened up, and I'm like, you guys better shut the fuck up now. Like, Walter is the parking guy. Walter is amazing.
He's just flexing now.
No, it's when he gives 2 parking spots, we're like, oh, now you're just showing up. And that happens also,
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I think that might be because it's about an hour, right? This pod.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
To be continued in the extra pod.
Yeah. Or I kind of talked to Aaron earlier about maybe in the extra pod we can talk about comedians that we like and what we think they do really well.
Oh yeah.
Stuff
Awesome.
like that.
Awesome.
So check out the extra pod, guys. It should be coming out later this week. But I think that's it for us.
Yeah.
What is? God damn it! I forgot.
Past our time.
Yeah. We talked about we had a beginning and ending, and I forgot it. Well, anyways, thanks for showing up, guys. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/PPPod, where you can sign up and you can get the extended pod or the podcast a week early. Thanks for coming. Leave comments. We'll respond to that or leave suggestions for what we should talk next time. But we'll see you guys later. Bye.